For most of my life, I followed the rituals, recited the prayers, and lived in fear. Fear of leaving. Fear of questioning. Fear of punishment. Islam was all I had ever known, and yet, deep within me, something was always missing. I was constantly searching for peace, for answers that never came. I had been told that turning to him would lead to damnation. I had been taught that the love I longed for was a lie. What happened next would forever change the course of my life. My name is Halima Kabaru. I was born in a strict Muslim family in the heart of a conservative village. My earliest memories were of my mother wrapping me in a hijab before I even understood its meaning. I grew up hearing the adhan call to prayer 5 times a day, and I followed the rituals with unwavering devotion. To question anything was unthinkable. Islam was the truth, and we were told that to doubt it was to invite eternal damnation. But something inside me never truly rested. Even as I bowed my head in prayer, I felt an emptiness. I watched my mother cry at night, burdened with worries, and I saw my father, though respected in the community, carry a silent bitterness. Faith was supposed to bring peace, yet all I saw around me was fear, fear of questioning, fear of leaving, fear of even thinking outside the bounds of what was allowed. By the time I was 45, I had grown weary of pretending. I tried harder, fasting more, praying longer, seeking the feeling of fulfillment, but nothing changed. A part of me wondered if there was something more, something I had missed all my life. One day, as I walked home from the market, a man approached me with a kindness in his eyes that unsettled me. He was a Christian, and he spoke to me about Jesus. "He loves you," he said. "He already paid the price for you." His words stirred something deep in me. Could this be true? Could there be a love that required nothing in return but belief? I wanted to listen. I wanted to know more. But the fear was greater. I had seen what happened to those who left Islam. The shame, the threats, the isolation. A woman I once knew had converted, and her own family disowned her. I could not bear such a fate. So I continued in my ways, but I secretly prayed, "If you are real, Jesus, show me the way. Give me another chance." I did not expect the answer to come the way it did. One afternoon, my son was driving me home when it happened. The tires screeched, a loud crash filled my ears, and everything turned dark. When I opened my eyes, I was no longer in the car. I was floating above the wreckage, looking down at my son's bloodied hands as he tried to wake me. People gathered. Someone screamed. But I felt no pain. I was outside of my body, weightless. Then, suddenly, a presence filled the space around me. I turned and saw him. His face radiated a light that was not of this world. His eyes burned with a love so intense it made me weep. I knew instantly this was Jesus. He had come for me. He spoke, but not with words. It was as if his voice entered directly into my soul. "I have called you many times, but fear held you captive." I fell before him overwhelmed. "Forgive me. I was afraid. I wanted to come to you, but I was afraid." Then, he revealed something that shook me to my core. "Do you know why Islam thrives?" he asked. "It is not because of truth, but because of chains." He showed me the 3 chains that bound Muslims, keeping them locked away from the truth of the gospel. As Jesus revealed this to me, I felt the weight of an invisible chain that had bound not just me, but millions of others. The first he revealed to me was fear. It was not just present in Islam, it was its foundation. It was the force that controlled thoughts, dictated actions, and ensured silence where there should have been questions. Fear in Islam is not always spoken, but it is deeply felt. It begins in childhood, where obedience is demanded, not nurtured. From an early age, questioning is seen as rebellion, and doubt is treated as betrayal. The fear is so ingrained that even an unspoken thought of disbelief feels like a crime. This fear is not only about divine punishment, it is enforced by human hands. Those who dare to leave face the ultimate rejection. Family, community, and society all turn against them. Some are disowned, some are imprisoned, and some lose their lives. The price of seeking truth is often too great, so many choose silence, living outwardly devoted but inwardly tormented. Even those who secretly doubt find themselves caught in fear. They fear not only for their lives but for their eternity. They have been told that to leave Islam is to invite the wrath of Allah, to suffer a punishment beyond imagination. The mind becomes a battlefield, between the desire for truth and the terror of what might follow. And so, fear becomes a prison, a force that does not need bars to keep its captives in place. It is in the whispered warnings of parents, the rigid teachings of clerics, the silent glances exchanged between those who know but dare not speak. It is a system where questioning is more dangerous than ignorance, where leaving is harder than staying, and where fear itself becomes the God that is truly worshipped. As I stood in the presence of Jesus, the weight of this reality pressed on me. I had lived in that fear. It had held me captive for decades. But now, standing before Him, I knew fear was not from God. True love casts out fear, and in Him I had finally found that love. As Jesus revealed this truth to me, I saw Islam in a way I had never perceived before. It was not merely a set of beliefs or a religious system, it was an initiation into spiritual bondage. From the very first moment a person recites the Shahada, they are unknowingly entering into a covenant, a spiritual contract that binds them not only in doctrine but in an unseen realm. The daily rituals, prayers, fasting, recitations, were not just acts of devotion but reinforcements of this bond. Each repeated phrase, each prostration, each whispered verse acted as a deeper submission, not just to a religion, but to the forces that ruled over it. The more a person engaged in these practices, the stronger the grip became. This was why leaving Islam felt nearly impossible for so many. It was not just fear of family, community, or even death, it was a spiritual entrapment. Those who tried to walk away found themselves tormented, drawn back as though by an unseen force. Some felt inexplicable dread, others were plagued by relentless guilt, and many even experienced dark visitations and oppression in their sleep. I had once believed that my prayers and rituals were acts of righteousness, securing my place with God. But now, I saw them for what they truly were, a system designed to entangle the soul, to keep it blind, and to make escape seem impossible. As Jesus revealed this final chain to me, I felt the weight of generations trapped in a web of deception. Islam was not just a religion of rules and rituals, it was a carefully constructed illusion, designed to appear righteous while concealing a deeper darkness. It offered a counterfeit God, a false salvation, and a twisted version of history, all to keep its followers blind to the truth. The counterfeit God was one of absolute authority but no true love. He was to be feared, obeyed, and served, but never known as a father. He was distant, cold, and impersonal, a God who demanded submission but offered no relationship. Unlike the God of the Bible, who calls his children sons and daughters, this God kept his followers as mere servants, never truly embracing them. The false salvation was a system of endless striving where righteousness was never assured. Prayers, fasting, good deeds, everything was done in hope, but never in certainty. No matter how devout, no Muslim could ever say with confidence that they were saved. They lived in fear, believing their fate depended on the mercy of an unknowable God who could change his mind at any moment. It was a salvation based on human effort rather than divine grace. The twisted history was the foundation that held it all together. It replaced truth with narratives designed to keep followers from questioning. It denied the true nature of Jesus, stripping him of his divinity and reducing him to a mere prophet. It altered the past, dismissing the gospel as corrupt while claiming itself as the final revelation. It presented a version of truth that kept its people satisfied, just enough knowledge to feel secure, but never enough to seek beyond it. As I stood before Jesus, I wept. How could they escape when they did not even know they were deceived? How could they seek freedom when they had been taught that bondage was righteousness? He looked at me with a sorrowful love and spoke words that burned into my soul. Only by the truth. And the truth is found in me. Then, like a rushing wind, I was pulled back. I gasped as my eyes flew open, and I found myself in a hospital bed. My son was there, relief flooding his face as he called for the nurse. The days that followed were filled with both joy and sorrow. I gave my life to Christ openly, and as I feared, the rejection came swiftly. My family turned away from me. My son pleaded with me to recant. But how could I? I had seen him. I had heard the truth. I had been given another chance, and I would not waste it. Even now, as I walk this path, I know it will not be easy. But I am no longer afraid. The chains that once bound me have been broken. I belong to Jesus. And in Him, I have found the peace that my soul longed for all those years. Many Muslims are trapped by fear, spiritual bondage, and deception. Leaving Islam is not just a decision, it is a battle against everything they have ever known. Fear keeps them silent, spiritual forces pull them back, and deception blinds them from the truth. As Christians, we must approach them with love, not argument, understanding that fear controls them. We must pray fervently because their struggle is spiritual, not just intellectual. And we must show them the true Jesus, not through debate but through lives that reflect His grace and truth. This is not just about knowledge. It is about spiritual warfare and patient love. Only Christ can break the chains, but He calls us to stand in the gap. Will we? All right, friends. This brings us to the end of today's experience. Kindly like and share this video with your friends and families. Kindly subscribe to our channel and turn on your notification bell icon to be the first to get updated anytime we upload a new experience sent to us. Remain blessed.